And he's like, I want to quit. I'm like, what do you mean you want to quit? He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He goes, you ever have a day where you just want to go back and work for somebody else? I said, I have. I said, but that's not today. I'm not going to let that happen to you today.
This is the Real Construction Owners Podcast. What's going on, everyone? Justin Ledford here. I'm the host of Real Construction Owners Podcast, where we interview multi-million-dollar owners of construction companies so you can go from being stressed out as an operator to becoming an owner who achieves healthy profits and a thriving business without having to figure out all how to do it by yourself. Today, we have a very special guest, Andy Neer, owner of Empire Builders out of Michigan. He teaches contractors how to get into commercial roofing. And if you listen all the way to the end, you'll get to learn a unique strategy you could use to sell your company for high profits without having to give out all the equity. This is valuable for you when the time comes. Let's go.
I'm doing great, man. Here in Austin, Texas. Where are you at, Andy?
I'm out of Shelby, Michigan.
Michigan. I love Michigan. Some of my best friends are from Michigan.
Really?
I got to go to Grand Rapids and go throughout the state and visit different restaurants. Where is Shelby, Michigan in relation to Grand Rapids?
Well, we get to use a map when we do it. So Detroit's over here, and I'm over on the lake shore on this side. So straight across from Milwaukee, but some of the best beaches. We only get about 1 month of summer out of the year, but we got some of the best beaches around.
I 100% agree with that. I fell in love with the place because you had, 3-4 foot waves. It was fresh water, and I didn't have to worry about stingrays or sharks, and I was having a blast out there.
Or salt water, just fresh water.
Right. So talk to our audience a little bit. Give us a history of before you got into construction. What'd you do? What were you doing? And how did you get into construction?
So I was raised on a fruit farm, apples, cherries. We did some asparagus. My county was known as the asparagus capital of the world for much of the time I was growing up. So we had that. And so we're asparagus lovers. But when I got to be about 16 or 17, getting ready to graduate high school, my buddy said, hey, I'm going off to trade school. Why don't you join me as a 13th year student? And I was kind of like, I was kind of spontaneous. I'm like, whatever. Okay, we'll try it. I'll give it a whirl. At that time, I'd already been married. I went to trade school, which was half a day each day. And then I worked in the afternoon, did that for a year. It's a 2-year course, but after the first year, I'm like, I think I figured out what I want to do. So I'm just going to dive into the workforce. And so I did that, went to work for my cousin. After a couple of years of doing construction, my boss actually said, hey, your family farm, it's not going to go to anybody. You should at least consider, going back and making sure that that's not going to be something you regret. And so I took his advice. I went back to my dad and said, hey, I want to see if this shoe fits or if it's not a good fit. So I went back. That was my first opportunity to have any kind of managerial position. He put me out in the field over the picking crews. And I did that for about 8 or 9 months. And I was there for a year, but somewhere in that time frame, I started doing side jobs, right? Like a contractor, it's just in their blood, right? And so after a year, my dad had somebody offer to buy the property. We had about 700 acres, so it wasn't a small farm. And so he had somebody offer to buy the farm, and he's like, I noticed you're doing construction on the side, you're farming in the daytime. I just need to know what you want to do. And I love my dad, but we didn't really mesh really well on the farm. I said, I really do like construction, so I'm going to go that direction. So he got a good price for the farm. He retired at the young age of 54, actually, and lived comfortably. And so that was 30 some years ago. So he's 81 now. And I went back into construction, worked for a couple people again. And then I started getting so many side jobs on the side, and I was making more money on weekends than I was during the week. I'm like, I'm looking at my boss, and I'm sure many contractors out there think the same thing. They're like looking at their boss and they're like, he ain't no prodigy. I I think I can do what he's doing. That doesn't look that hard. And you just go out and do it on your own. And I was just telling my wife this yesterday. I'm like, you see some of these people, they just can't jump out and do it on their own. And it's like, what made me different? And I think what made me different was nobody told me I could fail. Nobody told me I would fail. So I didn't know any better. I was really, really naive that I was just like, it's failure is not an option. It wasn't even in my vocabulary. So yeah, I mean, if it's a word of advice out there for some people that are so hesitant and they got to know everything about everything before they start, most entrepreneurs aren't like that. Most entrepreneurs are like, I see the opportunity. I know I can do it. I know I have the resources to do it. I'm going to jump in the deep end and learn how to swim later. And
man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So much to unpack right there. Too many people, they want to ready and they want to aim and then they want to fire. But so some of the greatest people and most successful contractors and business owners, they say ready, fire, aim. And instead of procrastinating, they take action instead of sitting on the fence, and they just go out and figure it out. And that's where luck happens. That's where fortune happens. They say fortune favors the bold, and that's because those are the ones who take action. And you were naive enough to believe that you could succeed. You didn't have failure as an option. You burnt your boat and you succeeded. So now fast forward, here we are today. What's the name of your construction company and what do you love about it?
It's Empire Contractors. It started out as Ainier Construction because I did all exterior remodeling. And then, but my cousin's name was Sam Neer Roofing, and they got us confused all the time. And so one day I sat down with my boys. I'm like, we need to change the name. Make a long story short, we had about 20 names on a piece of paper, my sons and I, and we just went through the process of elimination. Does this name sound better? Does that name sound better? We already had the logo picked out. We were playing chess that day. And so I don't know if you can see my logo on here. It's a night piece. And I sketched that out. So we already had the logo. We just need a name to go with it. But it gave it to the graphics art designer, and that was born. And so I've actually had people locally not want to call us because they thought we were not local and we were a national company. I'm like, no, we're not a huge company. We're just have a great logo. But I can't really fast forward to 2020 without telling you in 2004, my wife and I, our marriage hit the rocks. And us as business owners and entrepreneurs, we have this dream we're chasing. And sometimes it's like, oh, she doesn't believe in my dream. And she's not entrepreneurial like me. And she's not a pusher like me. She's not driven like me. And so you get that wedge driven between you and your marriage. And then all of a sudden your spouse becomes kind of your enemy or, not working with you. And at least in my experience, I was having an affair with my business. So most people think, oh, you have an affair with another person. No, I was having an affair with my business. I was committing all my time and my thoughts and my, energy and everything was to my business because I thought I was doing the right thing, right? I thought I was going out, making the money, bringing it home, and mama would be happy. And that's what I thought she wanted. And she wanted my time. She wanted my conversation. She wanted my interest. And so I had to figure out a way to make more money and less hours and devote more time to her and our marriage and our family. And so in 2004, I packed everything up from Michigan. I sold all the business. We sold our house. We moved to Texas and we spent 6 months in Texas. And down there, I learned how to run an insurance claim working for a storm restoration company. I don't do a lot of storm insurance, but I say God sent me down there to learn a couple lessons. That was learn how to fail, learn how to start up again, learn how to run insurance claims, and learn how to drive in the big city. When I came back, I worked for a couple of other companies, factories. I kind of had given up in contracting because I knew that was going to probably be hurtful to our marriage. But as contractors go, you start doing side jobs, right? I'm working for this factory and I'm doing side jobs. And one day my wife out of the blue says, you're probably not going to be happy unless you're your own boss, right? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. She's like, you're going to be miserable the rest of your life if you're not your own boss running your own thing. I said, yeah, but we already tried that and I don't want to put a strain on the marriage. And so through that conversation, she gave me the blessing to say, you can reopen it. You can do that again, as long as we're attentive to what, your schedule is and the time that's involved and all this stuff. And so with her blessing, we went forward, reopened the company. And 2015, I accidentally teamed up with a manufacturer named Conklin. And the reason Conklin is special is because they have a huge network of contractors, and the contractors selfishly or unselfishly work with each other and share each other's resources and information and all this stuff. And so through that, I really learned how to get traction in the commercial roofing market and grow. And now I do the same. I like to coach and help people get started in commercial roofing. In fact, just 30 minutes ago, I was doing a phone call with a guy in Pennsylvania on his first commercial roof, talking about what he should be looking for, how to approach the building owner, what problems are on the roof, what solutions he can have, what materials he should use. So I just love doing that. And
yeah, that's why I reached out to you, because I noticed that you're a giver. I noticed that you're somebody who's always trying to give back to the industry. And it's not just about you. So many people have their head down and just focused on themselves, which is totally fine. But I want to unpack some of the things that you just said. They were so powerful, and so many contractors, if you're listening and you're a business owner, listen to this. See, he was focused on his business, and then the kids, and then the wife. But the pure and true happiness comes, which I have found this out in the last year, when we focus on our wife, our kids, and then our business. And if we focus on our wife, our kids, and then our business, and we implement processes and systems within our business to where our business can run. I had a very successful guy named Tim Rhodes, owner of GoBundance. He's very successful. He said, Justin, you have to be the door, not the doer. What does that mean? Your business has to be the door, the opportunity for others so they can be the doer. And when that happens, you can step back and be the CEO. So I love that you focused on your relationship, and in turn, your business started thriving. You know, whenever we do that, we have time for our health, we have time for our spirituality, we have time for taking care of our family, we have time for reading books. But if we're just grinding at the wheel, that wheel is going to fall apart eventually. That's one of the reasons I started Real Construction Owners Mastermind, where I take CEOs to epic adventures, Montana, Costa Rica, snowboarding, and we come together in mastermind and we learn how to be better individuals, not only in our business, but in our family. Let's dive a little deeper on this Conklin. You know, I know that I've heard about this before. If we have a roofing contractor or a commercial contractor listening in who wants to get into commercial contracting, tell them a little bit about that and why they should be interested.
So there's a lot of great manufacturers out there, and I've taken a lot of their programs and training programs and talked to the reps. And by talking about what Conklin involves isn't to belittle any of them. It's just a different style of business. And so Conklin is a manufacturer that they have 5 different divisions. Roofing is their biggest one, but they also have some like agriculture products and some animal products. They started out by doing liquid applied coatings like, I don't know, 1974, 75. So they have a long time in the industry. And then in the 90s, just in the last couple decades, they've added PVC and TPO and some other products. But what makes them so unique is that, with other manufacturers, they sell through a wholesaler, which sells through a big box store, which sells through a sales rep in the box store, which sells to me as a contractor and sells to the business owner or the end consumer. Whereas Conklin, I'm the direct distributor of manufacturer of Conklin. So there's a lot less middlemen cut out of the middle. What does that mean? Well, Conklin doesn't really advertise and market like all of the other 3 top tier manufacturers do. Whereas Conklin doesn't do that. I'm their marketing arm. And so because they've cut all the middlemen out and they don't have that traditional marketing, they have the ability to offer commissions to guys like me that want to help share my knowledge. Now, when I say share my knowledge, that's not just like installing the product, although that's the main thing guys come talk to me about is installing the product. But it's way beyond that. It's like, okay, how do I build an estimate? How do I generate leads? How do I brand myself? What's a script that I can talk to a building owner, whether it's an initial call or on a follow-up or a closing deal, closing the deal. Where do I find insurance? Some people come and they've never even owned a business. So we gotta talk about how to start a business and how to do all that stuff. And so it's really how to run a roofing business from A to Z. I've literally sent some of my estimates straight to the guys I work with without hiding any numbers, without hiding any verbiage or anything so that they can see exactly how the estimate's laid out. Because if they're anything like me, I'm a visual person, so you can explain it to me, but I really want to see with my eyes. And a lot of contractors are like that. They want to see with their eyes, think, oh, that's how it goes together. I can do that. I can copy and kind of replicate that. And so
I see that as a big value add because you have all these massive buildings that have old roofs, and this will give them an opportunity to go knock on their door and offer a reasonably cost solution instead of a full roof replacement. Is that kind of how this works?
Exactly. Yep. Now you get some guys that are so gung ho, they want to put liquid coating and everything, right? So we gotta express to new guys or anybody that's getting into this is, you got to qualify the roof. You got to make sure there's no hidden moisture underneath. You got to make sure there's no like silver coating or silicone or foreign substances on the roof. We gotta cross off a couple boxes to make sure that it's a good candidate. And I tell the building owner the same thing. They might call me, hey, I want a coating. Well, let's look at your roof and make sure it's a good candidate to do that. And so, but once you get over that hurdle, yeah, you can say, okay, we're avoiding dumpster costs, landfill costs, the cost for tearing the roof off. We're also avoiding the disruption to your business because now we're not opening it up to the sky and the weather for a couple days. We're avoiding that. And you would be surprised. Disruption to their business is a key factor in their decision process. It's not the money. It's not the, the material you're using. It's not the quality of your company. It's like, is my business not going to be disrupted? I'm going to be doing a gas station in a couple of weeks, and I'm doing their canopy that's over the gas pumps. Now, I can't shut that thing down for 3 or 4 days, right? Like if people are like, oh, they're shut down for 3 or 4 days, they don't stop and get gas. People that don't stop and get gas don't stop getting Doritos and Coke. So that would massively interrupt their business.
I love that. Now, regarding a funny or interesting story, I want to ask you to entertain our guest or our audience. Andy, tell us a story when you knew in your heart you should have not taken on this job, but because you saw some foreseen risk, but you ended up taking on that job. And you learned some painful lessons through that. Tell us that story. Okay.
So once again, it was a gas station, and it was actually my local community. And it was just a simple 412 pitch pole barn steel roof, and they just needed to tore off and put it on because they had a couple of minor leaks and they knew it was time. Problem is it didn't have plywood under it. It just had trusses with 2x4 purlins, 24-inch on center. Because it's a store, I recommended they should put sheeting on it. But they're like, well, it's been like this for 20 years and it's worked just fine. So that's what we want to go back with. So at the time I had about 15, 16 years of experience. So I'm thinking, well, I've never
What's
done
the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Well, I kept going through my mind. You're right. It's been like this for 20 years and it's worked great. You have a couple minor leaks, but that's to be understood with an old roof. But so we did that. We went back over top, and that was a bad decision because, it just so happened that some of the panels didn't seat right because it wasn't on a completely flat surface. And so, and then also my applicator, who's a very good applicator, one of his guys or him put one particular panel that was at the bottom of the valley. He lapped it the wrong way. So all this deluge of water coming down the valley went right under the rib in the worst spot. And she called us at like 11 o'clock at night one night. Water's coming in on my terminals, on my $5,000 computer that manages my pumps. I got water all over the floor. And so me and my subcontractor went there. We spent about 2 or 3 hours cleaning up that mess in the gas station that night. And I remember when we got done, we walked out front and we're just kind of taking a break, standing in front of the store at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, I want to quit. I'm like, what do you mean you want to quit? He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He goes, you ever have a day where you just want to go back and work for somebody else? I said, I have. I said, but that's not today. I'm not going to let that happen to you today. I mean, it almost brings tear to my eye telling you this because he was ready to break at that time. And I had to give him the confidence that, I've had days way worse than this. I mean, you're talking about a $10,000 or $12,000 oopsie, but I've had some bigger mistakes than that. But he's a small young contractor himself, it was a big issue to him, and he was just feeling defeated. So I just had to. So as contractors, sometimes we got to remember, like, the right words at the right moment to a new guy, to a young person that's looking up to us. Don't take them moments lightly when they're looking for some words of wisdom. If you don't have any words of wisdom, don't just fill the air with stupid stuff. But he needed some confidence right there that, it was going to be okay. And it wasn't the end of the world.
I like it. So we've all had these times where we've been buried under with work. We're supposed to be an owner of a company who's overseeing things, but instead we're in the operations side of things. What's next for you? How can you take your business to the next level? What are you doing to where you can become more of an owner and not have to do the day-to-day operations?
Well, I used to run about 13 or 14 guys in our crew. We had half of them in commercial, half of them residential. But about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to simplify. We cut off all our residential, went straight into commercial, and we kind of are selective about some of our jobs. I don't do any new construction or government work, so it's all private work and pretty much owner operated businesses. So I kind of went into a special little place that I can specialize in. But the other thing I did was
you found your happy place.
Exactly. I was looking for somebody to come in and kind of be that main guy to kind of slip into my shoes. And so I started pursuing my son-in-law, my youngest daughter's husband. He was in tower climbing. He did tower climbing, and he was in lineman work and cell tower work. I kept taking him out for lunch and slipping it must have been like 8 or 9 times. I kept slipping little messages about coming. And finally, one day, my daughter says, Dad, Brandon does not want to do roofing. He does not want to come work for you. He loves towers. He loves climbing cell towers. He loves lineman work. And I'm like, okay, well, I just think it'd be a great opportunity. And so then I decided I was going to give him an offer, because I hadn't really given him a formal offer. So I wrote an email. I wrote out a 2-page offer. And part of that offer was to include him as an owner. It would be a 5-year process where he would make X amount of dollars a year. A small percentage of that would go into an escrow account where after 5 years, he could use that money as a buy-in to the company. And then he would be a part-time owner where I would stay on for a couple more years. And then eventually I want to step aside. I'll still be in the company and help make decisions, but not the day-to-day operations. So that's kind of my game plan. We're 1.5 years into that process. He's doing a great job. He still has a lot to learn about the books and estimating in the back office, but we kind of have a plan. Like the first year, he was just going to learn about products and installation. The second year, he was going to start doing a little bit more sales, and then we're just going to keep progressing until year 5, where he can start helping me with some of the leadership decisions.
I'm curious, where did you learn that option? That sounds very tactical, where you give somebody, first of all, it's important to find the key players. And once you find the key players, that's when the business can grow. But that tactical approach of you saying, hey, 5 years and what percentage is he getting? And can you unpack that a little bit more? Because that sounds very tactical.
So there's a farmer friend across the road from my shop, about 2 blocks. And I knew that he had done this through several generations, from his granddad to his dad to him. And now he's doing that with his 25-year-old son, where I'll just use an example. When he came on board, his dad says, okay, I'm going to pay you $45,000 a year salary, but you're only going to get $35,000 a year. $10,000 is going to go into an escrow account. After 5 years, you'll have $50,000 saved up. You can use that $50,000 to either walk or you can buy into the company. And what that does is that it makes it so that they have skin in the game the whole way. And it also gives them the option, like, hey, I have faith in you that I know you could walk in 5 years. You could, it's your money. But you also understand that I'm pouring a lot of my energy and information and into you in these 5 years. And so there's a little bit of loyalty there. But that 50,000 is where it really makes sure they have skin in the game.
That's dropping bombs. Like that deserves a bomb right there. I love it. Now, what are some things you invest in, and what are some of your goals that you're working on?
Okay, so I'm kind of a boring investor. I have a Roth IRA, as well as my wife has a 401k, which we contribute to pretty modestly. Now, I put it in and I forget about it. I know a lot of guys over the last couple of months kind of been freaking out and then kind of moving stuff around, but I'm a sock it away and forget about it guy, and I don't really analyze it a whole lot. But I also have some rental properties that I like to invest in for a couple of reasons. Sometimes I need it for a nice write-off at the end of the year. So sometimes between October and December, I'll buy a foreclosure or a rental property. But I also like that rental property to just have a secondary source of income, because it's not related to the roofing business at all. And so if you're this is separate from the roofing business, but if you're a business owner, it's good to have multiple sources of income that aren't related to each other. So if you have an industry trend that goes up or down, like roofing sometimes does, you can still have that property that's paying you, some money.
I love that. I started investing in real estate about 6 years ago, and I've acquired about shy of half of a dozen properties myself. And that's one of the best things we can do. Instead of buying the big boat and the big truck and all the cool toys, we need to invest in our future so we can give our kids a legacy, something that they can have whenever we're gone.
Yep.
Andy, this has been a pleasure. I want to ask you, if our audience is interested in learning more about Conklin or just reaching out to you and masterminding, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach me on my phone. I'm free to give my number out, 231-578-4760. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I think I said all that, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the major ones I'm on. And you'll also see me sometimes as some of my handles on Facebook and Instagram are Next Level Roofer. So if you want to look for Next Level Roofer. I also have a podcast called The Rocket Roof Show. It's all based on commercial roofing, where I bring experts in to talk about commercial roofing. And if I could put a little plug in we have a commercial roofing conference that we do once a year. Last February, it was down in Myrtle Beach. And this next January, it's going to be in Waco, Texas. And this is a second annual event where we only talk about commercial roofing. We bring in between 8 and 10 speakers, and we talk about everything and anything from leads to jobs to safety to the number one best segment that we had there was called Know Your Numbers, where a successful commercial roofing contractor from Long Island, New York, spoke for an hour and a half talking about how to break down a commercial roofing estimate line item by line item by line item. And we found out through that's exactly what roofers need. A lot of roofers aren't struggling with necessarily leads and sales and revenue, all that stuff. Warren has a quote that says, most roofing contractors don't go out of business because of bad installation. They go out of business because they don't know their numbers. He started off that speech by saying, by raise of hands, who knows their labor burden percentage? And in a room of like 60 people, 1 or 2 people raised their hands. And he's like, wow, like nobody knows their labor burden, but you're bidding it every day. You're bidding jobs every day. Your labor burden's in there. You just don't know it. You don't know what it is. And so because of that seminar, we decided to do a sister event called the Roofers Guild. It just started up. We just opened up registration last week. The Roofers Guild is going to be a 2-day event just on how to know your numbers financially in a commercial roofing business. We're having that in Nashville, Tennessee, September 14th and 15th. It's all inclusive, hotel, food, everything's included. But yeah, we're gonna have only 3 speakers there. That's gonna be a great weekend. And so if you want to know more about that, you can hit me up about that too.
Yeah, send me the contact. I'll put it in the show notes so people can reach out to you regarding that. Andy, this has been fun. You've dropped so many bombs of nuggets of wisdom, and I look forward to doing this again in the near future. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Justin.
Have a good one.